that you may speak to us. Our hearts are discouraged. Our hearts are burning out. But we pray for the presence of the Holy Spirit, that we may be able to walk through this storm of COVID-19. And in you, we know that we will emerge victorious to the glory and the honor of your holy name. Bless that doctor, bless that nurse, bless the leadership of this nation, bless every family. In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless you wherever you are. Let us keep up the courage because God is with us. God bless you so much.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
We've all heard the saying, stay home and stay safe. But what happens if you get forcibly evicted from your home? From the east, west, and south of Africa, hundreds of families have been evicted from their homes by their own governments on grounds that they've built on disputed land. The sound of trouble also knocking on the door.
Next on.
The man is supposed to lead, then he should lead the conversation. However, bad leadership can also be questioned.
I think in today's society, because we tend to visualize that's the man who is going to engage, what happens by default is that it places ladies in a backseat position where they are not actively thinking about the relationship.
Expectations that have been set as far as doing a wedding is concerned, especially in our society right now, unrealistic.
Virusi vya korona vinazidi kuenea haraka kote ulimwenguni, na kwa sasa hakuna dawa au chanjo ya kuzuia. Husambaa wakati vijitone kutoka kwa mtu aliyeambukizwa vinaporuka akiongea, kukohoa au kupiga chafya. Vijitone hivi hutua kwenye sehemu ambazo mikono hushika na huwezi kuviona, lakini hata kama huvioni haimaanishi kuwa hakuna, na unaweza kuambukizwa unapogusa uso wako, pua, mdomo au macho. Ili kusaidia kuzuia kuenea kwa virusi hivi, sote tunahitajika kufanya mambo matano. Moja, fuata hatua hizi: kuosha mikono yako mara kwa mara na sabuni na maji kwa angalau sekundi 40. 2, funika mdomo wako na kiwiko wakati wote unapokohoa au kupiga chafya. 3, usishike uso wako. 4, epuka sehemu zenye watu wengi. Weka umbali salama baina yako na wenzako. 5, kaa nyumbani ukiweza, hasa ikiwa una dalili zozote za ugonjwa. Kwa maelezo zaidi tembelea www.who.int.
Yeyote aliye na kinga hafifu mwilini yuko katika hatari ya kuambukizwa COVID-19. Hao ni kama watu ambao wanaishi na magonjwa kama vile virusi vya HIV, kansa, TB, kisukari, miongoni mwa magonjwa mengine. Lazima wazingatie matibabu ili kuboresha kinga mwilini. Lazima wahakikishe wamepata dawa ipasavyo. Tembelea kliniki yako au kituo cha afya kilicho karibu nawe kwa maelezo kamili kuhusu jinsi ya kupata dawa. Pia wasaidie jamaa na rafiki kupata dawa. Dumisha mawasiliano nao na ufuate mwongozo wa kiafya kutoka kwa kituo cha afya ili kujikinga na virusi vya korona. Pata habari kuhusu COVID-19 kupitia vyanzo vinavyoaminika. Piga 719 au bonyeza *719#. COVID-19 inazuilika. Jilinde, linda familia na jamii. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na serikali ya Kenya.
Good afternoon. I'm Regina Manyara and you're watching KBC Channel 1. Indeed, it's Budget Day 2020-2021. What do you think the budget this year should address? That's what we've been asking you since morning, and we continue to just sample your feedback in the course of this program. But now let us look at stories that are making headlines. And we start off with the issue of budget, where the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani will this afternoon present his first budget, the 2020-2021 budget, against a backdrop of tough economic times characterized by job losses, increased debt and likely revenue collection exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as he presents the budget at the National Assembly chambers, Kenyans expect that in his briefcase, the issues would be prioritized, including lowering of prices for basic commodities and rejuvenating their economic activities. It's the budget day, but the streets of Nairobi remain virtually unchanged, with most people going about their activities oblivious to the upcoming budget presentation, which, if adopted, will heavily impact on every aspect of their lives. However, for the seemingly soft-spoken economist at the Treasury helm, Ukur Yatani, today is nothing short of walking a thin line, trying to balance debts, development and stimulating an economy battered by the COVID-19 pandemic. This year's budget aims at prioritizing employment creation, youth empowerment, supporting manufacturing activities, enhancing health coverage, improving food security and enhancing living conditions. The elephant in the room is how the government plans to finance the budget. The government expects the Kenya Revenue Authority to collect 1.6 trillion shillings in the next financial year. The country has been running on wheels of debt, with the total national debt as at January 2020 standing at 6.2 trillion shillings. Come this afternoon, Wanjiko will know her fate in terms of what the budget will focus on.
Watu wanaumia sana na kuna watu hawana uwezo. Unakuta kwamba watu wengine wanafanya hizi kazi za ndogo ndogo zile na unga iko juu. So utakuta kwamba watu wengi wanaumia sana.
We are unable to sustain even the economy of our country. So at least the president should do something, plus the PS for treasury, so that at least Kenyan can be at least of somehow good.
Indeed, those are just some of the expectations that Kenyans have ahead of the presentation of that fiscal policy that, if adopted, is going to heavily impact on every aspect of Kenya's economy. Some of the issues that the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary is going to be trying to just balance out in his presentation at 3 p.m. is the issue of COVID-19 and its domino effect, job losses. So many companies have closed shop and also just announced some redundancies. Some staff have already also been sent on compulsory leave. Now, also, there's an issue of shrinking revenues. Remember that between April and March, and we've seen the government losing around an approximate of around 22 billion shillings, courtesy of 122 billion shillings, because of the tax measures that it put in place to cushion you and I as Wanjiko from the biting effects of COVID-19. Issue of debt, because as of January 2020, Kenya's debt stood at 6.2 trillion shillings. Ukur Yatani has a hard time, and from different views that on the collection we've been getting is that Kenyans want him to focus on basic commodities, that commodity prices need to go down so that Kenyans can make do. High inflation rate, the issue of debt, and how that pans out. We have our reporters spread across the country and especially at the parliament buildings, just trying to find the views, get the views of the legislators who for the first time ever are going to be debating the budget 2020-2021 under different, or rather a dynamic setup, given the COVID-19 measures that have been put in place. Social distancing, the number of people who are going to be in the chambers are going to be minimal. Others are going to be following up, through the screens that have been put up at the National Assembly. We have a reporter, Brian Kimani, who is at the Parliament buildings and will be bringing us up to speed with what is happening on ground as we expect the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani to present that particular, his first budget ever as a Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury. Now, still keeping up with matters COVID and how it has affected different sections of the economy is that Thwake Dam, Kenya's biggest multi-purpose dam, is one of the few projects that has continued just to keep its activities up and running. But before we get to that story about, just ensuring that every household at least has a safe water to use, how about to hear from our reporter, Brian Kimani, who, as I mentioned earlier, is on standby at Parliament buildings just to bring us up to speed with what is happening with just some few hours away from the presentation of the 2020-2021 budget. Or Brian Kimani, how's it going at Parliament?
Oh, thank you, Regina. I mean, anytime. Now it's a few minutes past 1 o'clock, and so we're talking about 2 hours from now. The CS in charge of National Treasury is going actually to walk, which is less than 400 meters from here, to the National Assembly. At a highly extraordinary time, where he's presenting the budget. When the country is reeling from the impact of the coronavirus. And the debate is whether to reopen the economy fully or to do something that we call the gradual reopening of the economy, which entails, opening some parts of the economy. That is a debate that is actually raging. But according to Treasury, there is a strong desire to open the economy because at the end of the day, the economy is suffering and Kenyans are suffering. He will be here in about 2 hours' time with his plan to finance the budget, which is about 2.7 trillion Kenya shillings. And he will be explaining to the world how a whole budget deficit of 800 billion shillings plus will be refinanced or will be financed. Of course, he has outlined measures like internal borrowing as well as external borrowing. But we are also alive to the fact that the international lenders, are also facing serious headwinds because of the coronavirus. We know countries, like the U.S. Yesterday, we saw the Federal Reserve leaving their benchmark rate. It's almost zero. And this is likely to stimulate, their economy. And there is a warning from the federal chair, Mr. Powell, that the economy is likely to get into a recession. And so that tells you that, investors or the U.S. will not be having a lot of money, to splurge to the international community. And other countries, like the U.K. is also in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, with more than 30,000 people, having succumbed to this disease. And so when you analyze the global macro economic situation, you definitely realize that it's going to be a Herculean task for National Treasury, actually, to approach international lenders, for financing. Of course, we know there is World Bank, there is also the International Monetary Fund, and also there is China. But also it's good to remember that China is also coming out of this crisis. Not fully yet. I mean, they haven't popped up the champagne bottle and said, hooray, we have managed to beat that corner. They're still struggling. And so the question is, who are the international lenders that Treasury is likely to approach for financing this budget? Let's come back here, to the domestic economy. We know banks have been forced to restructure their loans, running to almost 400 billion shillings, because Kenyans have gotten to a point whereby, financing these loans, has become, a headache because the economy is in some sort of a pause mode, if you like it. And so maybe not, banks will be willing to lend to the National Treasury through bills and bonds. Let's wait and see. I mean, it has always been, a savior for National Treasury, when it comes to borrowing domestically. But this has the risk of elbowing out local borrowers. And so it's some sort of a kind of, a tough balancing act, if I was to use an old slang for him. But let's see. I mean, we don't know what rabbit is in his bag. I now want to invite, my colleague, who is so well versed with the issues Parliament. Come on, I want you to to keep your distance, man. He's going to explain to us, I mean, how will this budget be presented, you know, at this era of coronavirus? First of all, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Brian.
Tell me this, I mean, what is going to be different, you know, in about 2 hours from now?
One of the noticeable things is that the media is not allowed within the precincts of Parliament. Of course, I'm talking about inside the Parliament buildings. Last year, the situation was different, but due to COVID-19, things are slightly different. There are measures which have been put in place by the Parliamentary Service Commission to ensure that everyone, this includes journalists who normally cover Parliament, members of Parliament themselves, parliamentary staff, are safe from this pandemic. And the members, of course, some will be using the lounge like they have always done over the last couple of weeks. Inside the chamber, we'll only see probably a maximum of 60 members. It is a huge chamber, but the idea is to ensure that not so many are crammed in one place. And one of the things that have taken place is that usually when you walk in as a member of Parliament, you press, there's a biometric system that you use, there's a register which is kept biometrically. They are no longer using that, so it's more manual today as compared to how it was. Yes, there will be a lot of fanfare. I know that a lot is expected. There will be, because for those who are doing colour, then you wouldn't miss a thing, because the absence of fanfare is fanfare itself.
The dynamic duo there down at Parliament buildings, just trying to put into perspective how different the presentation for the budget 2020-2021 is going to be different given the current COVID pandemic that we're dealing with, especially issues of social distancing. O'Brien Kimani will still remain on ground to just bring us up to speed with any activities, given that we expect that Okur Yatani, who is the National Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, to just take a walk from Treasury buildings all the way to Parliament. And, carrying with him a lot of expectations from Kenyans, with Wanjiko saying that they are looking forward to hear what this particular briefcase has in store for them, especially when it comes to commodity prices and the issues of fuel going forward. We're going to be having further discussions in regard to our expectations of the budget 2020-2021. Right here in studio, I have experts from different sectors of the economy who are just going to help us anticipate what that particular briefcase is going to hold. But now we still keep up with the news. We are at Thwake Dam, as I mentioned earlier, is Kenya's biggest multi-purpose dam and is one of the few sites that has managed to keep its activities up and running amid the harsh effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. In what management terms as adherence to tight precautionary measures, in addition to regular screening and cutting down its workforce, the administration has continuously subjected its staff to the coronavirus testing exercise. So far, 37% of the work is done.
Activities at one of the mega multi-purpose dam, which sits at the convergence of Thwake and Athi rivers in Makueni County, are ongoing. Unlike many facilities and farms that slowed down their operations after COVID-19 struck the country, Thwake Dam never closed business. When we visited the site, workers were undergoing a second phase of mass testing. This has been the trend here: adherence to COVID-19 precautionary measures and partly cutting down the workforce for social distancing requirement.
We've conducted mass testing, targeted mass testing for new workers. We were targeting 30 workers and we've met the target. So we're still continuing the mass testing and screening all our workers in the project.
And we hope in the next few weeks or days, we'll again do screening and testing of other employees randomly.
The second phase of testing targeted about 30 new workers across all sites under different contractors working under the main contractor. Makueni County, which shelters the site, has confirmed the COVID-19 cases, and the management is not leaving anything to chance.
Any single individual puts all the project at risk. This is why we take this exercise seriously, because once somebody is infected in this site, it will mean that all workers, all employees are taken into isolation or quarantine, and this will mean that work stops.
Proper planning has also enabled minimum interaction with truck drivers who supply materials.
Maybe cement brings material, he sticks inside his truck. The things are delivered by the project staff, then the truck goes back to the area that it has come from. So there's near zero interaction between the visitors and suppliers with the project staff members.
The move by the medics from Makueni County Referral Hospital in conjunction with the Dam Medical Center has seen the safety of over 800 employees. Management says work at Thwake Dam is so far 37% done. The dam is jointly funded by the African Development Bank and the Kenyan government and is bound to have its initial phase of the project completed by December 2022.
How about we cross over to Treasury buildings, where reporter Alan Aoko is just keeping tabs, monitoring what is happening outside the most famous building this day, especially within the CBD, as we expect that Ukur Ietani, who's a Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, is going to be taking his maiden walk from that particular building all the way to Parliament for the presentation of the budget. Alan?
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon to you. We are still here outside the National Treasury, and behind me we expect the National Treasury CS Ukur Ietani to emerge. The symbolic walk and the symbolic briefcase signifying the reading of the national budget here in Kenya. Well, we've been out here since morning just getting some views of Kenyans and what they expect this budget to be. We've talked to women's groups, we've talked to young people, and something interesting that came out of that is that many Kenyans want the budget to be one for their pocket. Some of them telling us that fine, it's good that we'll put some money in infrastructure, but they want something that goes directly more into their pocket. We've had others say that women's groups have always been at the background when launching such kind of estimates. They want to see more money allocated to women activities. We've also seen young people talk to us and they tell us that they want the youth to be looked into, especially when it comes to empowering them to get jobs to fill that employment gap. You know that there have also been some mitigation measures that have happened during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. You remember the tax rate was reduced from 16 to 40%, and we've also seen some reduction of the pay as you earn. And the people we talked to say that while that is a good measure, they'd like to see more done on that. They want to see that something that is more significant than that. And also we saw those earning less than 24,000, their tax being scrapped altogether. But they say, well, that is good, but they want to see more measures happen, because especially if this pandemic is to continue as it is. And if you can remember, the Budget and Appropriations Committee also talked about, they approved a 1.8 trillion shillings budget. The estimates and the target that KRA was given now is lower than what it usually gets. It's usually given targets of even 2 trillion, but now it's given, it's revised downwards to something of about 1.6, 1.7 trillion, just to, to cushion on the measures that have happened here due to the coronavirus pandemic. Well, we'll keep giving you the updates as they come, and we'll give you the pictures as the Cabinet Secretary leaves the National Treasury to head to the Parliament buildings to give us the national budget readings. For now, though, it's back to you, Regina, in studio.
Much Alan Aoko for giving us that particular brief and just showing what everyone is anticipating that walk and famous walk by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary there, Ukur Ietani, to the Parliament buildings for the presentation of the 2020-2021 budget there. He's going to be keeping tabs on that, and we're going to be bringing that particular activity live, so do keep it right here. But also to just help us discuss, or rather break down the figures as we anticipate what is going to happen, I have experts in studios. You can see them on the screen. On my right is Faith Atiti, who's a senior economist at NCBA Group. Welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
The far end on my left is Gerald Githuko, a public finance committee member, ISPAC. Thank you for making time to join us this afternoon to just talk about, budget 2020-2021 and the ripple effect it's going to have into the future. We take a short break. When we return, we're still going to be looking at stories that are making headlines. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu, mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba corona iko, na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde, ukitoka nje, ukifika kule nje, kuna hata maji yamewekwa nje na serikali. Unanawa mikono kwa maji na sabuni, na maji yenyewe yawe ni yale ya kutiririka. Pale unaponawa, unaangalia usafi wako wa mikono, unaosha huku nje ya viganja, unasugua katikati ya vidole, pia huku kwenye kucha, manake uchafu wajifiche huku kwenye kucha. Uoshe, kisha sunza na maji yanayotiririka. Maji yakimwaika, kusema kweli tutashinda. Tuzingatie na tutii sheria. Corona tunaishinda, na baadaye maisha yatarudi kama kawaida wa Kenya.
Next on.
Si mpaka wewe ni mpenzi wangu. Mpaka Masudi ni mpenzi wangu. Mpaka babangu ni mpenzi wangu.
Glad you could join us. You're still watching KBC Lunchtime News on this budget day. I'm Regina. Manyara. Now, Nyandarua County has received a major food boost from Thika-based food and beverage processing company to bolster its efforts in supporting local residents who have been negatively affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Elsewhere, Manyara constituency, Nairobi County, will be benefiting from a sanitizer booth by a local bakery firm as part of its contribution towards the fight against COVID-19 in the country.
Normal activities in Kutus town were disrupted on Thursday morning as traders at the BC market joined demonstrations to support
It was a reprieve to vulnerable communities within Nyandarua County who have been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The donation that includes 550 bales of maize meal was presented to Nyandarua County Government Emergency Response Team as part of the farm's corporate efforts to help in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic.
Purely to reach out to those people who have been exposed. So we want to thank you. We have seen also you have a very organized way of how you are receiving these donations. And this is the time that we really need to stand with one another. And that has come evident in Kenya, that people are really standing with their brothers and sisters who are affected.
The donation is part of the 20 million shillings worth of maize meal contribution that the farm aid pledged to the National COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund.
We are very happy that we have now received 13 tons, is not little food, 13 tons of maize flour to go to our people who are still waiting to receive some kind of help. We really thank you for standing with us and presenting this donation to us. Beyond that, we are calling on corporate industries, a good corporate citizen as they have shown.
Meanwhile, residents of Mathare constituency in Nairobi County got some boost hygiene-wise after a local bakery company donated a sanitizer booth as part of their contribution towards assisting in fighting COVID-19 in the country.
We want also to give thanks to the NMS for actually helping us come up with this kind of thing. We also want to say thank you for the Ministry of Health in conjunction with the Nairobi Public Health for assisting us in mixing of the chemicals.
Speaking after launching the booth, Mathare Member of Parliament John Oluot lauded the efforts of the government and other corporate organizations for their efforts in combating the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
The booth is supposed to assist us in fighting coronavirus by people passing through and getting those sanitizer fumes that are expected to assist in killing the virus if it is somewhere within on the body. The place we have positioned it is where people pass through when they are going into and from Isiri towards Huruma, and we expect to capture a lot of people by passing through that.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnosu.
Now over to Kirinyaga County, where residents of Kutus have taken to the streets this morning to demonstrate their support for the county assembly, which impeached Governor Anne Waiguru. The residents appealed to the Senate to endorse the decision of the members of county assembly.
Normal activities in Kutus town were disrupted on Thursday morning as traders at the BC market joined demonstrations to support the impeachment of Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru by members of the county assembly. The residents who lamented what they termed as rampant corruption by the Kirinyaga County government said Waiguru should take full responsibility.
Kuna maendeleo anafanya ni pesa zetu alikula zote, na tunaona yeye ndio anaharibu katika Kirinyaga. Sisi tunaomba Senate isimsemelee vile council walimtoa, tunataka hivyo uende atolewe.
Sio kwa kamiti ambayo Bwana Rusaka anasema zikamati. Tunataka iwe injumuizo katika Senate jumla. Wanjadiliane wakiwa pamoja wote maseneta. Tuone ambaye atakuja kumtetea.
That the majority of residents of Kirinyaga County are suffering as a result of inadequate drugs in county hospitals and pathetic condition of the roads. Waiguru was impeached on Monday after a total of 23 MCAs out of 33 voted in favor of the motion by Mutira Ward Representative Kinyua Wangui. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Away from matters in Kirinyaga County, now the European Union has committed an additional 600 million shillings to the country's social safety net program that will go towards feeding households in Nairobi's informal settlements. Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelagui says the funds will go a long way in increasing the purchasing power of vulnerable groups in the country and injecting more liquidity in the economy.
In a bid to cushion vulnerable Kenyans against the adverse effect of the coronavirus, the government disbursed 7.8 billion shillings under the cash transfer program. According to Labour and Social Security Protection CS Simon Chelagui, the fund needs an allocation of more than 5 billion shillings during this year's budget for efficiency and expand to more than the current 21 counties.
Because of budgetary deficit, to be able to address this number of beneficiaries, we would require additional 5,348.
In a bid to incorporate more vulnerable people into the program, the EU has committed an additional 600 million shillings that will aid an estimated 80,000 households in 10 Nairobi informal settlements.
We've initially designed this project for a period of 3 months, very deliberately to try and tide us over the period where people in the informal settlements in particular are seeing their economic opportunities and possibilities compromised, damaged by the COVID virus.
The fund is expected to increase money circulation in the economy by boosting the purchasing power of vulnerable groups.
Effectively creates increases purchasing power. Individuals are able to go to shops, kiosks, and buy household items like food and utilities for the household.
Seen that by putting cash in the hands of women, it has allowed them to not only meet their basic needs but go beyond and think of what other small economic opportunities they can engage in.
This as the government seeks to amend the Social Security Act that will, among other things, streamline operation in the cash transfer program to make it more efficient. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Now crossing over to the sporting arena, and we go international, where holders Bayern Munich beat Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1 to set up German Cup final against Bayern Leverkusen. Now Ivan Perisic stood a stoop leader. A header was the only goal for the first half of the Trouble Chasers, entirely dominated. Now Eintracht, the 2018 winners, improved after the break, and Danny Da Costa leveled moments after coming on. Now Robert Lewandowski scored the winner from Joshua Kimmich pass, with a goal initially ruled out for offside but awarded by the video assistant referee, that is a VAR. Now the final will be in Berlin's Olympic Stadium on the 4th of July, with Leverkusen beating fourth-tier Starbeck 3-0 in the other semi-final. Bayern, who are 2 league wins away from the 8th consecutive Bundesliga title, have won 20 of their previous 21 games in all the competitions. Now that brings a cap to Marta's news, but when we take a short break, when we return, we're going to be delving in Marta's budget 2020-2021. Do not go away. We'll be right back. Now, good afternoon once again. If you're tuning in, thank you for keeping us company. We are talking about March's budget 2020-2021. Now, looking at the expectations of that Kenyans have going forward with this particular fiscal policy. With me in studio are 2 experts in different various fields, and I'd want them to introduce themselves, starting with Faith Atiti, who is a senior economist at NCBA Group. Good afternoon, Faith.
Good afternoon, Regina. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. You all said my name is Faith Atiti. I'm a senior research economist with NCBA Bank.
Good. On my far left is none other than Gerald Kithuku, who is a Public Finance Committee member of ISPEC. Thank you, Gerald, for making time.
Thank you, Regina. I'm CPA Gerald Kithuku. Apart from a member of Public Finance of ISPEC, I'm also the tax partner at GMK Accountant LLP, where I'm the partner in charge of tax.
Well, glad to have you on board. Kenyans are eagerly awaiting to find out the contents of the 2020-2021 budget. Starting off with you, Faith, at this point, if you were a courier attorney with the current economic issues that you're dealing with, COVID-19, businesses are not performing as they should, schools are closed, we have the issue of pending strikes from the health workers. Which areas would you prioritize if you were a courier attorney this afternoon? Faith.
Thank you, Regina. Truth is, I'm glad I'm not a courier attorney right now because the sort of balancing he has to do to achieve what is now being considered as the delicate balance between lives and livelihoods is quite difficult. But for now, I believe the focus should primarily be first on health and secondly on survival. So I'd be hoping that he provides more allocation for the health sector, because certainly we need to build capacity, especially if we as we move into a situation where we inevitably have to reopen the economy. I think it's only fair at this point that we consider all of us vulnerable, and therefore we need to build a sufficient capacity to deal with a significantly increased level of COVID-19 infections in the country. And certainly it's the mandate of the government to make sure the citizens are not losing lives to the pandemic, and therefore it's imperative that they have that much needed provision for that capacity, both for testing and just managing infections. But while they're doing that, we need to keep our lives going. We need to survive. So as you well put earlier, there's a need to make sure commodities, especially food, the essentials, are still quite affordable. I'm glad that the weather has been fairly favorable this year, but of course we've seen challenges across the border. So I'm hoping the government is fast-tracking ways of making sure there's no interruptions to food supply and commodities remain affordable. Hopefully if there's any challenges, then we should see some subsidies from Yatani, of course, despite the fact that he'll be looking for any cents to beef up his revenues to finance this budget. Yeah.
What about you, Githuku? What do you think? What would you prioritize if you were sitting in Ukur Yatani's hot seat this afternoon?
Thank you, Regina. I think one, because of the COVID, I think we need to target the health sector. We have seen the minister allocating 6% to the health sector, but I think he can do better because of this session of the COVID. I think we need to ensure that the citizens are healthy. We need to also ensure that the common citizens the tax are lowered. We have seen that from the tax amendment that was passed in April 2015, where the CS went ahead, and made a laws on PYE, he lowered from 30% to 20%. He also exempted incomes from the first one, 44,000, you don't pay tax. We have seen the lowering of corporation taxes, and through that, including other concessions that the government can give to help fight the COVID-19.
Health sector, from our two experts this morning, that is the areas that we need to prioritize. If they were Ukur Yatani this afternoon, they would look at look at the issues of health, as well as ensuring that Mwananchi has food on the table. That is Faith Atiti as well as Gerald Githuku. What's your take? What do you think the budget should address? Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News, and my Twitter handle is at Manyara. How about we cross over to Parliament buildings with our reporter Gladys Mungai, bring us up to speed with the activities currently underway. Gladys?
Naam, Regina, bila shaka tunakujia moja kwa moja kutoka majengo ya bunge, na hivi leo ni siku kubwa sana kwa Wakenya, manake jumla idadi kubwa ya Wakenya wa kawaida watakuwa wanasubiria kumsikia waziri wa fedha Ukur Yatani anayapi kuhusiana na bajeti ya mwaka 2020 na mwaka 2021, na ikizingatiwa kwamba taifa limepata kupigwa na visa kama vile janga la corona, masuala ya nzige, vile vile masuala ya mafuriko hapa na pale, ambapo Kenya imeweza kuwapoteza watu katika harakati kama hizo. Watu watakuwa wanasubiria kumsikia waziri anayepi ama ametenga fedha kiasi gani kuweza kukabiliana na masuala hayo. Na bila shaka mtazamaji, naungana katika hapa nilipo, naungana na mbunge wa Budalangi Raphael Wanjala. Atakuwa anatueleza tu kauli yake kuhusiana na makadirio ya bajeti ya mwaka huu. Wanjala, karibu sana kwenye runinga ya KBC. Moja kwa moja tu mueleze mtazamaji wetu, katika bajeti ya mwaka huu kuna kipi ambacho unahisi kwamba kimetendewa haki na kingine pengine kimenyimwa?
Mimi nataka tu kusema bajeti ya mwaka huu mimi sijaipendelea. Vile nimeisoma kidogo makaratasi yale yalikuja, kwa sababu hasa sisi wale watu area zetu ziko na mafuriko. Hatujaona tukitengewa pesa ya kuchimba mabaa ili wazuie mafuriko. Na mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba Kenya yote tumeona ya kwamba mafuriko labda hata yanaua watu wengi sana kuliko COVID, because within 1 month tunaona vile mafuriko iliua watu wengi, na COVID hata mpaka saa hii miezi karibu 3-4 haijafikisha idadi ya hao watu. Kwa hivyo vile tuna shida hizi tatu, lazima Kenya ingeangazia, budget ingeangazia ya kwamba wa control mambo ya flooding. Na ni nini inahitajika kufanya kwa flooding? Wachimbe mabawa, wafanye the river training na river dredging. Hakuna pesa imekuwa allocated kwa hizi kazi. Kwa hivyo bado inaonekana tutaendelea kuhangaika kule nyumbani. Pia unajua sasa watu walipoteza kila kitu. Manyumba, chakula yao kwa mashamba, kila kitu. Sasa wanarely kwa serikali kwa feed, kuwapatia chakula. Lakini sasa serikali pia chakula yao haikuji vile inatarajiwa. Na naona hata pesa hawajaweka ya kutosha ya kuhakikisha watalisha wale watu wako na hizi shida. Kwa hivyo hii budget ni kama zile nilikuwa nikiona wakati ya Moi. Budget mzuri zilikuwa tu wakati wa Kibaki. Hapa naona na nataka nimeangalia hata upande wa health. Nataka kusema wale watu wetu wanaenda kuandika report ya BBI. Waangazie, wachukue health, lazima irudi kwa national government. Kwa sababu tukiendelea hivi tutaumia kule mashinani. Hasa Busia sasa tumemwagiwa shida nyingi sana za COVID. Na tumesema pia lazima IG achukue step ya kuambia polisi sasa wachukue hongo, kwa sababu hii ni about their lives na lives of Kenyans. Kwa sababu sasa, kwa hivyo ningependa kuambia watu wetu, hakuna kitu mimi naweza sherekea kwa hii budget. Sioni kitu ya maana, kwa sababu hata kazi sioni hii budget yao kama inaweza create kazi, empower watu. Kwa sababu ndio unaona wanaanza kuandika watu casual. Sasa mtoto wa mtu amemaliza university, ameenda course fulani, unaenda kumwandika kazi ya 2 years, 1 year, 3 months. Haitasaidia hii nchi, kwa sababu watu wanataka kazi ile itawasaidia mpaka pia wakuwe na family.
Mheshimiwa, umeguzia swala la afya, na katika bajeti hii ya mwaka 2020 mwaka 2021 tumeshuhudia kwamba kwa kiasi kikubwa bajeti ya Wizara ya Afya imekatwa. Wakati ambapo tuna swala la COVID-19 humu nchini ambalo limezuka na kuwaua jumla ya Wakenya karibia 80 hivi. Kwa kiasi kikubwa Kenya inategemea ufadhili wa mataifa ya kigeni katika kupigana na janga hili. Unahisi kwamba endapo janga hili huenda likajilikuza zaidi, tuna uwezo kukabiliana na janga hilo?
Hapa Kenya nakuambia hakuna njia yoyote tutaweza na kupambana na hili jangwa. Hata ni Mungu tu anatusaidia. Na pesa yote ile wanasanya, ndio unaona hawawezi weka hata pesa za kutosha. Yote ni kulipa madeni. Tumekuwa tu inchi ya kulipa madeni. Ni kama ule mtu anafanya kazi from the hands to the mouth. Hakuna ile inaenda kwa mfuko. So hizo ndio shida ziko Kenya saa hii. Pesa yote inasanywa inaenda kulipa madeni. Ndio unaona sasa lazima World Bank ikuje ijaribu kucushion, ndio labda tutaendelea. Kwa sababu watu walimismanage economy yetu hapa Kenya. Kwa hivyo tuko na shida na hii budget, sioni kama itatupeleka mahali.
Mwisho kabisa, kuna swala kwamba bajeti fedha hazitoshi. Kenya ina
Shukran sana mwenzangu hapo Gladys Mungai kwa kumleta mbunge hapo Raphael Wanjala wa Budalangi ambaye ametupa maoni yake kuhusu bajeti ya mwaka 2020-2021. Tutazidi kufuatilia mambo yatakavyokuwa kwenye bunge punde tu wakati waziri atawasili. Now, still keeping up with matters budget here with my guests here, we were talking about the issue of if they were the cabinet secretary this afternoon, the areas they would prioritize, and one that took it away was the health sector. But given that particular survey there, Faith and Gerald, I'd wanted to just borrow from what that MP has said, Raphael Wanjala, MP for Budalangi, the issue of unemployment, as well as dealing with matters of agriculture, especially where flooding is. Starting with you, Faith, yeah. What do you think about agriculture? Was it going to be highly featured in this year's budget?
Unfortunately, agriculture has not historically, and I guess now will not be getting as much attention as it should be. Proportionally, as a percentage of GDP, agriculture contributes about 35%. Yet, year in, year out, the allocations are something less than 50 billion. Which is just about actually less than 5% of the total budget spent for the fiscal years. So certainly there's need to ensure food security right now, and I think it will still remain a key focus for the government under the Big Four agenda pillar. And considering the situation we find ourselves in, with a lot of people now unemployed, food becoming a struggle for the majority, especially in the informal sector, then certainly there's need to provide allocation. But then I think it might be coming in some sort of indirect way, and this is based on government expectations around food security in the year. Like I said earlier, rains have been somewhat favorable this year, so the harvest could be possibly good. But then government has sort of preempted any risks to food security. There was, I think, a 2-month window to import maize with substantial subsidies, which I'm certain that the food manufacturers have taken advantage of. So from our perspective, and as NCBA, we expect that inflation will remain one of the most stable variables in this period, largely because we don't anticipate that the government will allow food prices to run wild. And should, of course, supply be a problem, then we probably could see an introduction of some controls of sort to make sure that we keep prices, we keep food affordable and available to the majority of the population.
So correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that we need, as Wanjiku needs to anticipate, or rather needs to keep her hope alive in having the commodity prices coming down? Especially there's been talk to have issues of the price of unga come down, but yet we know that we're already having an issue of importation because of a deficit. We're also dealing with issues of locusts. Is it too far-fetched? Can we have the commodity prices come down, Faith?
I think we should, and I think it's a priority for the government now. But I guess the question is, what degree of adjustment do we see in food prices? It could be a case where we don't see prices rise or come down, but albeit slightly. But I think what the government is likely to do through the county governments and the public administration units to make sure they still provide support to households that are struggling to find food right now. And there was the initiative by the government where they've been collecting resources to just facilitate that. I think they will be capitalizing on that to ensure that the bulk of the population is supported when it comes to food.
Now over to you, Mr. Gerald Kituku. The question is, we're planning about with around 2.7 trillion shillings for a budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021. Where is the money? Where do you think Okur Yatani is going to get the money from to finance this? What options?
A good question, Regina. I think if you look at today's budget, it's a 2.7 billion budget. 1.8 being recurrent expenditure and 500 being development expenditure. And the government target revenue is only 1.6 million. So there will be a deficit, a budget deficit of around 850 billion. So you find that that deficit, the government has got some policy. For instance, in the finance bill 2019, they're intending to also increase some taxes. Taxes like digital service tax, which will be introduced at 1.5% of the transaction value, will take effect. There will also be a minimum tax at 1% on the turnover. And also we also expect some exempted under the VAT first schedule. There are some exemptions goods that will be vatable at 14%. So for instance, like liquefied gas. For another example is like solar systems, and including some agricultural inputs. All that now will be vatable. So we see the government, the CS will increase, we will try to expand the tax base, and also we will also try to borrow both externally and domestic. If you look at today's, the 850 billion deficit, the CS is planning to borrow 350 billion from foreign markets, like IMF, World Bank, and also 500 million domestic market. So we can see that this loan, sometimes they end up to be very expensive, especially if they are taken domestically. But those are some of the issues, some of the measures the CS will adapt to ensure that he has got a balanced budget.
Now, since we're still talking about the issue of financing, is that already KRA there has been tasked with collecting ordinary revenue of around 1.6 trillion shillings. We've seen that the taxman has, over the last few years, missed its targets. Gizuku, from where you sit, do you think that this time KRA is going to meet its targets?
Thank you, Regina. I think it's a difficult question, but based from the analysis, I tend to think that this budget is it's ambitious. Because, for instance, if you look at the last 5 years, the KRAs have not met their budget. And for instance, this year, because of the COVID-19, we have seen the government introducing the Tax Amendment Act 2020 to ensure that the citizens are cushioned on the taxes. For instance, there was a reduction of PRC1 from PRC1 rate from 30 to 25%. We have seen the minimum tax being increased to 144,000 per annum. We have seen the VAT being decreased from 16 to 14%. And we have seen the turnover tax also being lowered from 3 to 1%. And we are saying for 3 months, that is April to June, the government will experience a shortfall because of those tax changes, is experiencing a shortfall of around 122 billion shillings. So in addition to other COVID-19 challenges, so I don't expect the KRA might meet the revenue target that has been set by the CS.
Now, how about we cross over from Nairobi County all over to County 01, that is Mombasa, with our reporter Mudiga, to just find out what Kenyans are saying down there in the coast in regard to the 2020-21 budget. Mudiga, over to you.
Good afternoon, Regina, Manyara. We are the streets of Mombasa at Moi Avenue in Mombasa town. Of course, getting the expectations of the wananchi, or what they're expecting regarding the budget, which will be tabled today in the afternoon at the Augusta House. And I'm joined by one of the residents, and of course, he's a retailer along this street of Moi Avenue. Kindly, Ndugu, what's your name and what are your expectations regarding today's budget? Kindly face the camera.
My name is Jadwalia. So in future, they should be more prepared, fund more of the health, Ministry of Health, so that even the local and the common mwananchi can get the best facilities around Kenya. And also I'll expect more money to be on the infrastructure. Yeah? The roads, especially the roads, to interconnect more people for business. I'm a businessman as well, yeah? So they should make sure, like, to get one point to the other, it's quite easy. Thirdly, it's about education. Yeah? The education sector has been affected, yeah, since the students will be returning in September, I think. Yeah? So currently we've seen new innovations like students learning through internet. Yeah? So and the new curriculum has been imposed. Yeah? So I think the government should try and fund more the Ministry of Education to bring more labs to the children, more internet to every school, yeah, so it can be easier and more efficient to learn. The pandemic has really taught us new things, even that you can learn through home, through the internet. Yeah. And also about the youth, I think the government should more support more. I heard that Uhuru has given more projects to the youth. I think I support that. They should continue funding the youth. Make it easier. Give more projects to the youth. That even the youth that are at home, they can have something to do, not be idle at home. And also loans. They should make loans be affordable to us, especially young people. Most of us, the jobs in the cooperative society, most of them, you find there are people there already. You have your degree and you have nothing to do. So if the government can give us loans to start small projects, small businesses at home, and make the society to move forward, you see, self-employment. So I'd expect sort of that as I can.
Yeah, and currently, as the pandemic has caused a lot of confusion, to be precise, the SMEs, most of them have businesses have closed down and they had to lay off people. What can you say about that, and what are your expectations? What is to be done to revamp or to move the economy around?
I think the government has got money, the taxpayer money. A lot of people have been affected. I've seen people going home, jobs have been stopped, but the government should fund more of the businesses, especially the businesses that have been affected. And to be fair, like I've seen that they have reduced the taxes, they should continue in that similar manner, and especially the big companies that are affected, I think the government should come through and support them, because many people are depending on the businesses, so that they can also themselves, they can gain through the businesses being supported. So I'd expect the government to support local businesses and also the cooperative businesses.
Well, thank you so much. That is Mbugwa, one of the retailers along this street. And I have another brother here who will be giving us his, of course, his expectations regarding today's budget, which will be presented in the National Assembly. Welcome ndugu, unaitwa nani na matarajio yako ni nini kuhusiana na bajeti ya leo? Nini ungependekeza kuangaziwa sana ili kufufua uchumi?
So, jina langu ni Sylvester. Mimi ni mkaaji wa Mombasa hapa. Kwa bajeti ya leo tunatarajia makubwa, tunatarajia kupunguzwa, iko vitu nyingi tunataka ipunguzwe. Kwa sababu vile hii corona imekuwa, tujakuwa na wakati nzuri kwa wenye biashara, kila aina ya biashara hapa Mombasa imerudi chini. Sana sisi kama sisi watu wako chini, biashara kama hizi za jua kali. Sasa kama mimi ni mechanic. Iko vitu kazi imekufa. Hatuna kazi. Sasa tunaomba budget ikikuja, iko vitu nyingi tunaomba ipunguzwe. Kama taxes irudishwe chini tax. Kwa sababu hiyo tax inazidi kutuumiza sana. Ikishapunguzwa, alafu kama tunaomba kama wale wabunge pesa zao wajaribu kupunguzwa kidogo, hizo tax zao irudi chini, ndio wale wako chini tujaze hii deni iko. Jana niliona news, kuna deni nyingi tunastahili kulipa ili tufike hii tumalize hii deni yetu yote. Lazima wapunguze hizo pesa. Tunaomba wakati wa mshahara zao irudi chini, ipunguzwe. Ikipunguzwa tutaweza. Alafu serikali ituangalie wale wako chini, kwa sababu kama hii kazi ya vijana iko wale wanaipata, wanapayana kujuana, na wale wako chini waipati. Sasa kama sisi tulijaribu kuregister kwa ile kazi ya vijana ile tupate pesa ya serikali ya kusaidia kampuni yangu, kama mimi niko na kampuni ya kufanya kazi. Lakini sasa ukienda pale uweze kupewa kwa sababu kwenda kujuana. Sisi tunaomba hiyo pia serikali aangalie, ndio itunue, ndio hii uchumi tuweze. Kwa sababu hii uchumi ni yetu sisi wote, na ili ishuke chini sio mpaka tushikane mkono. So tunaomba budget ikisomwa, iko vitu tunaona ipunguzwe. Mafuta ipunguzwe. Mafuta ikipunguzwa, kila mwananchi, kila kitu itapungua. Tutapata unga, itarudi bei ya chini, kwa sababu sasa hii unga unapata iko maduka zingine wanauza shilingi 150. Ni nyingi, hiyo iko juu kwa mwananchi wa chini. Ipunguzwe. Iko vitu nyingi nataka ipunguzwe, kama transport, kama hizi chakula za kutoka kama Rift Valley, nje countries za nje, itakuwa rahisi kupata. Zikipungua hata kwa soko zitakuwa nyingi. Tutapata kila aina kwa njia rahisi, hata kama sisi kununua maspare pia tutapata kwa njia rahisi, kwa sababu kila kitu inakuja kwa urahisi. Lakini kama mafuta iko juu, kila kitu itakuwa imepanda, kwa sababu mafuta ndio pia naye ndio inaleta vitu zote zinakuwa chini, kwa sababu everything inatumia mafuta. So tunaomba hiyo serikali iangalie kwa uangalifu. Asante. Sasa tunaomba Uhuru atuangalie. Tunamwaminia. Asante.
Well, asante sana. Thank you so much. There were those, of course, are his expectations, matters to make sure that life becomes easy for everyone to manage, or the life standard to be manageable to everyone. Of course, talking about the slicing of prices of petroleum, of course, if they are sliced down, or if the prices are down of petroleum, it will be easy to access so many things. And of course, matters to do with health has also been spoken in length or in depth, to be precise, to ensure that the government or the health sector is well prepared to fight any pandemic which may come later on, to be well prepared. And of course, matters education also, to ensure that all students get internet of course, to get internet so as to be able to access that online material and be at par with everyone, so that when school resume, everyone will be at par to ensure that they continue with their education from where it stopped due to a pandemic. From Moi Avenue in Mombasa County, I am Michael Mundigan. Back to you in Nairobi, Regina Manyara.
Thank you very much, Mondiga, there. Just to take some take-homes there from what your people have said in terms of the sample survey that focus on revenue streams or other funding of businesses, as well as they expect that the cost of fuel should go down, as well as a keen focus on education. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, before we took that particular feed from Mombasa there, we were talking about the issue of financing this particular budget. My guest here, and quoting that, is Gerald Githuko, who is a Public Finance Committee member from ISPAC, says that this is a quite ambitious budget as it is, with KRA being given 1.6 trillion, that they may not meet that revenue target. Some of the measures that are going to be or are seek to be introduced through the way of the Finance Bill 2020 is the introduction of digital service tax. Faith Atiti, what do you think this impact? What impact will it have on e-commerce? Digital service tax.
That's a good question. I think this is very targeted, and I'd say it sort of looks at leveling the grounds, the ground between, just reducing the level of inequality by targeting, especially those who can afford. If you look at the services that are being targeted, like DSTV, Netflix, they are mostly consumed by people who at least can afford it. It's some sort of luxury. Yes, so you're trying to get as much resources as possible from the rich, and distributing it back to the people who actually need it the most at this point in time. It's a welcome move. Does it slow down e-commerce? Potentially. But I think this has potential to recover much faster. It could be off right now, but it could recover much faster once the economy picks up. And I think from a volumes perspective, because if you're looking at revenue, there's two sides to it. The fact that, yes, you have people being taxed, but you also have a lot more people using e-commerce today than they were like a couple of months ago. So it's possible, as much as there could be some slack in consumption because of that tax, the volumes have also increased substantially to sort of compensate for that loss in revenues.
Gerald, the introduction of the 14% VAT to liquefied gas, that is LPG, what impact will it have, will it have on, efforts to, gain trajectory in the use of clean energy? Do you think it's going to have a negative impact on that direction in as far as clean energy is concerned? Gerald?
Thank you, Regina. I think one of the government initiatives is to ensure that we are sustainable in green energy. And once this item is removed from the exempted to the VAT, is going to increase the cost of the gas, and of course it's going now to accelerate to Wajiko, because most of the Kenyans, they use gas. So when this product increases, it's going to affect the cost of living, and especially this time of COVID-19, it's going to have a negative impact.
Now, sin tax. The alcohol and cigarette industry are very apprehensive, especially whenever government sits down to move to, just try and find ways to finance the government, their budget as it is. Will they get away with it, or will Ukur still dip his hands into this industry, alcohol and cigarette industry, Faith?
Unfortunately, I know the industry knows very well. There's no way they'll probably get away with it. It's perennial. Like every year, we get an incremental tax on sin tax. Unfortunately, it's an easier target for the government. But even, considering that the government is trying to really balance between lives and livelihoods, it's important they also just maintain. Make sure that the essentials remain affordable, but the fact that they actually need to raise more revenues to finance that means they'll probably be taking these from where they can get.
Yeah. Very well said. That is Faith Atiti, who is a senior economist at NCBA Group, just taking us to our next break. When we return, we're still going to be focusing on budget 2020-2021. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You should be asking.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725 923 550 Nairobi branch, 0728 087 689 Eldoret branch, 0722